All right, good morning, guys. Good morning. I hope you have your cup of coffee. Sunday morning, October 12th, I believe it is. Yep, October 12th, 2025. And I'm wearing my Saints shirt, repping the Saints. Saints are playing New England today. New England's actually here in New Orleans playing the Saints. Go Saints. Who dat? Um, yeah, so before we get started, just since I'm kind of new, well, I'm new. It's like my second show or episode. Just going to explain a little bit about me. Welcome to the Brian A. Bear Show, where everyday perspective meets thoughtful commentary. I'm Brian, 40. Well, I'm not 40, 39. I just might as well say I'm 40, so I get used to it, right? 39, going on 40, with years of experience living and working in the middle class, interacting with real people and seeing the world from a grounded point of view. On this channel, I'm going to break down politics, religion, and current events, offering analysis, insight, and honest opinion from a relatable, everyday perspective. Expect commentary, critical thinking, and sometimes a touch of humor, all designed to help you see different sides of conversation. So subscribe for weekly videos, join the discussion. Let's explore ideas, challenge assumptions, and think critically, one perspective at a time. Let's get started. Today's video, I'm gonna do on video on Asmongold, talking about Joe Rogan. Trump is going too far. So yeah, I like to talk about all the spicy, interesting things going on. So if you don't know who Asmongold is, I mean, he's got 4 million subscribers. Um, he's a he's a streamer, plays video games, mostly known for WoW. If you don't know what WoW is, World of Warcraft, then you're lost and you don't know what's going on. Uh, so he's pretty popular. It's hugely popular amongst the younger crowd. I would say 20s, 30s, and yeah, he's been around for years now. But he's been around for a very long time, and so he started off doing stream like Twitch streaming, gaming, all that, and now he kind of, now he's an older man. He's well in his 30s, and so he's more interested in politics, and he has a lot to say about things that are going on. So he's a pretty cool dude. I agree with a lot of things that he says. There's some things I disagree with. Same thing with Joe Rogan. So, further ado, let's get into it.
The immigration thing, the way it looks is horrific. When you're just arresting people in front of their kids and just normal, regular people that have been here for 20 years, that everybody who has a heart can't get along with that.
I guess I don't have a heart. I'm totally okay with it. I think they should do it more. Just because you have your kids with you doesn't mean that you're immune to consequences. Yeah. It's emotional manipulation.
It's emotional manipulation.
Everybody who has a heart sees that and goes, that can't be right. That can't be right. That can't be the only way to do this.
Right.
Because
Well, the other way to do it would be to have closed the borders ahead of time, and that way it would have never been an issue. Anytime that somebody gets apprehended by the police for committing a
It's a fair point, right? I mean, you can't. It's a domino effect, right? So it's just all the dominoes are set up, and you're just allowing that first domino to get tipped, and then a whole bunch of shit's going to happen because of that. So you leave open borders, you don't protect the borders properly, people getting in, you don't have any proper way of vetting them. Now they're in, and you're my lifetime passing up Walmart's, Home Depot's, any construction place, and you see, you know, 20, 30, 40, 50, even sometimes more than that, all like hanging out in a parking lot. and none of them speak English, and some of them speak broken English. You might have like 1 out of 15 or 20 of them that can speak like proper English. And it's just like, what's going on?
Crime or doing something wrong, they're separated from their family or from their kids. If they're with their kids, it's not like this is some kind of get out of jail free card. You still go to jail. It doesn't even make sense. This is like, it's totally illogical in every other application of this rule.
You have to think, look, yeah, we have to have a border. Yes, it should have been secure. Yes, they should make sure you know who everybody is before they get in.
Yeah.
But when people been here for 20 years, like, come on, man. That's crazy. Like,
yeah,
I agree. It is crazy. How are you here for 20 years? You break the law for 20 years. You can't figure out how to get a visa. You can't go through the immigration process. You can't do anything. How does that make any sense? How is it that these people can disrespect the laws? And also, a lot of these people are doing identity theft. They're doing other bullshit. They're paying some taxes. They're not paying other taxes. I wonder, like, yeah, stealing an American's job in a lot of cases. Yes, and it's just insane. So, yeah, I don't know what to say. It's crazy, man. Thank you. I've been saying this for years. Yeah, exactly. So I think that this argument works, but it works in the opposite direction. How is it that these people have been here for 20 years, but they couldn't figure out how to get any form of citizenship or residence in the country? Like, what are you doing?
Look, just so you know, I like to go into these videos cold, so I don't like pre-watch these videos. What I did with this video is I woke up this morning, played the first like 2-3 minutes, and was like, oh, this would be a great video because I got a lot of shit to say about this. So far, I mean, Asmongold is like, he's on point. He's logically, his foundation is perfect at this point.
Way, if they've been productive members of society for 20 years, no criminal record, they worked the entire time, they paid taxes.
Well, that's the problem, right? You got people that have been in here for 20 years and they haven't been paying taxes. Like, that's the problem, you know? And there's way more people that's been here. I mean, the amount of people that's been here for 20 years, I'm sure there's a lot of them, you know, sure there's a lot. And then, you know, you have people that came here all that time ago and say they were 15 years old, say a man and a woman. They got here, you know, 20 years ago and they were just teenagers, and now they're adults and they've met someone here, or they're married to another person who's not here legally and they have kids. And now you just have like this huge conundrum that's completely unnecessary, but could be handled properly. Let's see what they have to say.
Find them a pathway to citizenship. Find a way where you can do this.
Nope. Because if you do that, then you provide a reward structure around people breaking the law. If you ever have a system that rewards people for breaking the law, you've created a system that rewards people for breaking the law. Why is it that a person who intentionally disrespects and breaks the law of a country gets to get moved to the front of the immigration the immigration line, and get made a citizen or a resident of the country? How is it fair to everybody else who didn't break the law that the people that did get first chances over them? How is it fair to them? This is, and I think this is the problem that a lot of people have, is that they always think about things from a very, very limited perspective, and they never think about it with other people and how they're being treated. Well, then why not change the law? Well, because I agree with the law. I think that you shouldn't just randomly let people in the country. I agree with it. I think that's the way the rules should be. And I don't see any, I see no logical reason.
This is like weird to me, right? This whole debate, like, should just anybody be able to come into the country? And like, you have mostly from the left, the right is closed borders, obviously. The left is open border. And it's just so weird to me because America's always been a place where anybody can come, right? But we're only living in a time now where we like only the past, like you think about it, the past 20, 30 years have we really have had like this kind of technology. I mean, think about it. The early 1900s, and if you look at like the sinking of the Titanic and just I mean, they didn't have enough lifeboats on the boat, and the amount of people that died, they thought the ship was unsinkable. Like, still very primal in a way where people were coming over here in the early 1900s and settling here, and Lord knows how many people came. Like, not everyone was written down, right? I'm sure there was a hell of a lot of people that just came here and on a boat and no one saw them come, and it was just they're here now. But now we have the ability and technology. Look at airports and how all that's ran. Like, you just can't just like, I can't just willy-nilly as an American just go wherever I want. I have to get a passport. I had to do all this. I had to apply for this and pay for this and all the documents that I needed for this. I can't just go to Mexico. I can't just go. I mean, bad things would happen to me undocumented, and I'm trying to travel across borders of other places. I mean, there's obviously like you just can't, like, I can't just go anywhere without documentation, no ID. I just can't show up somewhere. So if I can't, well, what makes it right for anyone else to be able to do it? So let's see what Asmongold and Joe Rogan has to say. I usually agree a lot with Joe Rogan, but maybe he's getting older and more sentimental, and maybe he's right, and maybe Asmongold's wrong.
Than otherwise. Yeah, point exactly. Been waiting a turn. Yeah, of course, right? So if I rob banks for 20 years and I get caught on my 21st year, I shouldn't get in trouble. Yeah, it's just nothing about this makes sense at all. And I think that really this is what's happened. I think this is what's very clearly happened, is that people like Joe Rogan, Theo Vaughn, a couple of these other podcasters, they are afraid of the negative optics of, arresting people in front of their kids or something like that. And they don't want to be seen as that kind of a person. But really, it's not about the optics. Anybody, if you're ever worried about the optics of something, you've now become manipulated by a person who wants to take advantage of you, because you've effectively given your ability to decide your own fate away to somebody else who oftentimes doesn't want you to succeed. So really, whenever you're caring about how will people who don't like me perceive what I'm doing? Well, they're going to try to make it look wrong. They're going to try to make it look bad. That's the real reason. They aren't afraid of optics. They're afraid of Democrats. I mean, I'm sure some of them are, but I think there's more than that too. You're making this argument, you admitted multiple times, didn't play credit card loans multiple times. Yeah, well, no, that was my mom, to be fair. That was my mom, and she did get away with it. Yeah, you're right. But what I'm saying is that, and also I think credit card companies are total fucking scams to begin with. They're scammers, and so fuck them. I don't think that it's a scam that you can't come into the United States unless you fill out paperwork. And so, yeah, it's a little bit different. And gosh, yeah, there are no hiding places around here, nowhere I know. Yeah, of course. And so that's really the difference to me. But either way, I mean, you're trying to make this like a personal thing for me or whatever. Why are you attacking me? Shouldn't you be attacking what I'm saying rather than trying to draw this like just completely dishonest comparison that doesn't have anything to do with what I'm saying? Like, why are you even bringing that up in the first place? So this is not a principled stance? No, not really. I mean, well, my principles, so this is the way that I look at it. I don't derive my morality or ethics from the law. I think that to a certain extent you have to follow the law, but my morality and what I think is right and wrong doesn't really have to do with the law. So there are a lot of things that I think are okay that illegally are not okay, and vice versa. So there are some laws that I agree with and other laws
I think a lot of people feel the same way.
that I don't agree with. And the ones that I do agree with, I think that we should enforce. And the other ones, I don't think that we should enforce that much. So it's really just that simple. And the only difference between, I think, me and a lot of other people is that I'm pretty open about this. I'm pretty open about this. And I think that this is a more honest conversation to have. But I don't think people want to have honest conversations. I think that they want to hold on to optics and try to, create these weird little gotchas and stuff like that. That's it. So it's okay to not care about illegal immigrant law? No, I agree with you, but I think that's a stupid position. So, and I'm going to pull up your message here. Give me 1 second. I'll pull it up and I'll respond to it. So, do you think that we should let illegal aliens into the country without checking who they are?
This is funny because he's kind of like calling this guy in his chat out. Look, he's got a picture of him and his girl, and it's actually pretty good. I like it.
Do you think we should do that? Do you think that's a good decision for the country? And then you're just wasting my time. You're wasting my time with an argument that you don't even have. You don't even think this. You're just arguing for no reason. Like it's just, what are you doing?
I mean, look, this is the problem with like all this shit, right? People are just arguing for the sake of arguing. Like, there's so many people that don't have one like logical thought in their head, and they're just saying like whatever. And a lot of it's bots and it's fake people that are commenting and just trying to stir up like, oh, well, this man killed this woman on tape and you see him stab her to death, and then he should be, put in jail for the rest of his life. And then you just have a whole bunch of bots and people saying, oh, free him, he's great, he's amazing, he needs freedom and he needs money. And what's the eyebrow guy that shot the insurance guy that got Mangione, or I don't know what his name is, but bro, the amount of chicks that are just like flaunt, like they are just head over heels for this guy who just shot this husband who has a wife and kids in the back of the head. And it's just like, you have people, like real people. If you just go look him up and go see, like there's like groups of women that are like following, going to his court cases. They're all dressing up, trying to like get his attention, and it's just like absolute insane. Like, he's a murderer, and it's just these people are insane. And that's a huge problem, is that you have a lot of people living right now, not only in America, but across the whole globe, and they are absolutely batshit crazy. Like, someone who murders somebody. Imagine you want to be with someone so badly, and that person has killed other people, but you want to be with them. Like, but this is what like our society has created normal. You know what I mean? And so it's all these like batshit crazy people living in normal society with people who are actually normal and that would think I would like not want to be if I knew that I'm going on a date with this girl and I find out that she's killed another person and murdered them in cold blood. There's absolutely no part of me that would be like, "Oh yeah, I'm going on another date with this chick." No. Like, but you have all these people that are like that. Like, why is that?
Anyway, let's go ahead. We'll move on, right? They could have worked towards citizenship. Yeah, it's such a waste of time. That was fast. Well, yeah. I mean, like, I have no problem with somebody that wants to like debate on something or whatever. There is no argument. Every country has borders. Yeah, exactly.
Thing that you want to do, which is keep terrorists and cartel members from getting across the border with drugs that kill 100,000 people a year.
Yes.
Okay, but also have a fucking heart. Because if you don't, you're not going to.
The thing is with this is that there are a lot of it is human trafficking as well, and tremendous amounts of human trafficking happen.
Yeah.
And because you're allowing people that are already here to have a path to citizenship if they're found to be here, then you've also created another reward structure through a second order effect of human trafficking. Because now, if somebody who is already in the United States is able to get a fast-tracked path to citizenship, that makes it all the more important to find somebody that will traffic you into the United States. And this is the problem, I think, with a lot of this logic here, is that it's not logic. It's just emotion. It's a emotional reaction based off of something that you see, rather than thinking out what the right thing is.
Think about how many Americans have snuck out of America and went somewhere else. And most likely they snuck out because of something they did that was illegal. Like they killed somebody or did something absolutely insanely crazy. Like there has to be millions and millions and millions of people over the entirety of America, of people who have left the United States without documentation or the proper way and just went somewhere. And that's just what happened, so that they didn't have to face the music. So imagine how much of that goes on, but the inverse of people leaving where they are because they're a criminal and coming over here. It's very interesting to think about.
And the best thing is for the most people. And I think that it's very easy for somebody to see a YouTube video or somebody to see a clip that's upsetting or emotionally touching to them and then decide that actually, you know what, let's just get rid of this rule. But there's always a lot of times secondary effects and sometimes other direct effects that are just not considered with why these rules exist in the first place. Now, I think that's one of the big problems.
Get anybody on your side.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing this stuff publicly, throwing women to the ground, handcuffing people just for existing on the wrong side of the dirt.
Yeah.
Not a criminal, not the only crime they ever committed was coming over here as a kid.
Yeah.
They probably didn't even know what the fuck was going on.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
You know, a lot of kids got snuck across when they were already born in Mexico.
And that's the reason why you can't let them be kids. That's the reason why you can't give them citizenship. Because if you do, you've just created a reward structure around sneaking kids across the border. That's the exact reason why you can't do it. Now you have just created an incentive to do this.
Grown up their entire life in America, they can't even speak Spanish.
Yeah, this the era of feeling is upon us. Yeah, it's an emotional argument. And too much empathy means the cartels end up profiting. Well, I don't necessarily think so. I mean, like, the cartels are always going to find ways to make money, etc. But Rogan might be a sellout now. I don't think Rogan's a sellout. I think that he's just looking at it from a perspective that's incomplete. Like, not everybody is a terrible person, a sellout, a Jew, or, some kind of psycho because they have an opinion that's different than you. Like, this is not really that crazy of an opinion, in my opinion. Like, it's not that insane. But, and people say this all the time. People are not Nazis because they think what I think. He's not a fucking sellout because he's saying this. It's just, I just don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. And I think that this is there's like a lot of like short term or like face value empathy that people like this have. And I think that face value empathy falls apart whenever you investigate the consequences of it. And I think that the problem is that a lot of these clips are, number one, they're intentionally misleading. So, for example, the woman that was thrown to the ground, the example that he's using, this woman was federally assaulted. She was assaulting federal officers. Should a federal officer allow himself to be assaulted, period? Should a person allow themselves to be assaulted, period? I think the answer to that is no. I don't think that they should allow themselves to be assaulted. And I think the answer is never. Never should anybody.
The problem is there's a large group of people who think otherwise. There's a large group of people who think you are of certain if you have a certain stance on politics, if you're a certain color, just no matter what the color is, if you're just different color than the other person, no matter if it's any color, it's all, you have people that are racist from all groups. It's not just one side. So you have all these mix of people, and you think that it is right. Like, these people think that it's right that you can assault and physically harm another person. That's why you have murders and violence. You have physical violence. You have carjackings. It's just because you have a group of people who are desensitized and they think that these things are okay to do. And if you stop them from doing those things, now you're in the wrong.
Running away, she's hysterical, she's screaming at him, and he pushes her on the ground. Yes, obviously that's what happens. If she didn't want that to happen, she shouldn't have been grabbing and screaming at him for the last probably 5 minutes. Like,
this has to do with every single video you see of police arresting people, and it's the resisting, right? It's the hey, look, how many times you seen a video of a police officer walk up to a car? Hey, look, caught you speeding 25 miles an hour over the speed limit. Your license plate's coming back wrong, or your tags are expired, or this or that. Do you have license, insurance, registration? And then the person's like, oh no, I don't have anything. And so now it just becomes like this person who's obviously not doing anything lawfully. They don't have insurance on the car's not registered. The car's most likely isn't even theirs. And then you have these issues where people are resisting arrest, and then you see, look, the whole police and cop thing, that's a whole different discussion for another day. Good cop, bad cop. But, I believe that there's more people, police officers, who are doing that job because they want to make the streets a safer place. They want less crime. And so you have a lot of these men and women working that are trying to make streets safer, catching people that are doing illegal things like speeding, or, driving with no license plate on the car, or swerving, or driving intoxicated, or getting in accidents, or hit and runs, or whatever it may be, and they're just resisting arrest. And the amount of times you see the resisting arrest, that to me is a huge problem. The fact that people resist arrest and get physical with a police officer, um, that should be just as much of a crime as if it was reversed around and the police officer was doing the same thing. So if the police officer was going to somebody who did absolutely nothing wrong, and there's tons of video footage of police officers police officers doing this type of thing. I think that the same exact discipline should be put towards each person.
Why is it always on the person who is responding to violence to be the one who measures their response? It's really the person who's doing it in the first place who's wrong. So you should look at why are they doing it. Forcing your kids to be there, yeah, 100% with you. She deserved it. Yeah, you shouldn't have done it in the first place. I think he separates himself since Elon Musk took distance from Trump. I can't read Joe Rogan's mind. I have no idea. But like, and I'm not trying to. I'm responding to what he's saying here. And if people stopped allowing their emotions to overtake common sense, we wouldn't have half the problems that we do today. No, we wouldn't have 99% of the problems that we do today. So yeah. I think when it comes to retroactively deporting people that have been in the States for years, there could be a merit-based system that determines the appropriate course of action for them. Well, yeah, and I agree with you, but I think that the first step to that merit-based system would be self-deportation. So, for example, I think that if somebody self-deports and they say, hey, I was here for a really long time, I've left, but, you know, I'd like to have a chance to come back, I think that's totally fine. But the issue is that whenever you're not even leaving and you're just, like, basically, I would not support anything that would give a advantage to a person who is a criminal and who has abused and taken advantage of our system, because not all of them are kids. Some of them are kids, but categorically you can't make decisions based off of the, like, every law and every rule is going to have a certain amount of collateral damage of people that are affected by it disproportionately. That happening is not a justification to just simply get rid of the rules. It is still an
I mean, he makes a lot of good points here.
Direct incentive, exactly. And Trump has that as a rule right now. So if you self-deport, you can still have the chance to come back to America if you follow the procedure properly. But nobody has a right to just simply skip the line. There's never any world where somebody has a right to skip the line.
Okay, so I'm just gonna make my last point here and then end it because video's getting kind of long. So just from my perspective, my everyday perspective on the Brian Abear Show, my experience with people here working here in America that are not from here, they are from somewhere else. They lived most of their life somewhere else, and now they're here in America working. So just my experience, I worked back when I was like 18, 19 years old, worked at a restaurant called La Coretta. La Coretta, I guess you could put that together and understand the type of people that I was working with. And yeah, I'm a very extrovert type of person, so I got there and made friends and learned a lot about the Mexican culture and I drank a lot of the original Coca-Cola from Mexico. They would have those there. So cool. The original Coronas. Um, and I would hang out with all the guys that worked there, the kitchen staff, wait staff. I mean, 98% of them were straight from the heart of Mexico. And so what these guys did is most of them were there. They had like a work visa or some sort of thing. There were people that worked there that they weren't there legally, and I know this because I was friends with them and I became cool with them. And one guy in particular, his name was I'm not going to say his name, but uh, I worked with him. I worked with him for years at this restaurant. And what he did is he was living there in that town where that restaurant was. He was living right across the street from it. And I think the owner of the restaurant, from what I gather, the owner of the restaurant had like these apartments, and this is like downtown. So it's like in this downtown area, he had these apartments that were like, they have the shopping centers on the bottom and the apartments on top. He had those. And it would just be groups of them. Like it'd be like a 2-bedroom apartment with 8 guys living in there. So you'd have like 2 guys per room. They would just have a mattress on the floor. I've been in there. I've seen this with my own eyes. So you can't tell me that it's not real because I've seen it. And they would just be living there, and they would have 2 guys in a room. So that's 4 guys, and the other 4 guys like lived in the living room. Like one guy, there was like 2 couches, so you had a guy on each couch, and then the other 2 guys slept on the floor. And that's just how it was. And what was happening is making money, and a lot of it was cash tips. So we make cash tips, and you would lie. So say you made $100 in cash tips, you'd say you made 50, that kind of deal. So what would happen is these guys would make cash money, and they would like send that money directly back to Mexico. And this one guy in particular that I was really cool friends with, he ends up showing me like he has a ranch in Mexico, and it's nice, and he has family there, and he works at that restaurant, and he works like 6 and 7 days a week, and he works all day, ever hardly not working. But the amount of cash he was making, and he was just sending that home, well, he was just pretty much building up a retirement for him to go back to live in Mexico on his ranch and live in peace for the rest of his life by the time he's like 40. You gotta think the dude was like 22, 23 years old, and he was working at that restaurant at like 15, 16. So if you imagine by the time he's 40 and the amount of cash that he would make and accumulate and send over to Mexico, where it's worth so much more. And this is just what's happening, but it's happening in a multitude, like exponentially more than what the average American would think. You pass by the Home Depot and you see all these guys out there, and you're thinking like, oh, like they're living here in America and they're making money, and then they go and they go to Subway, right? And they go buy their Subway, and they're giving back into the economy, and they're paying, like Joe Rogan said, they're paying taxes. No, they're not. No, they're not. They're not paying taxes. Most of these people are just taking American dollars and then sending that money, transferring it into pesos, and then stashing that there for them. So then when it's all said and done, there is nothing that America gained from it. It was taken from and siphoned from each individual. Think about the amount of Americans. There's a college town I was working at. Think about I would see so many people come in and apply to work at this restaurant, and they hardly ever needed anybody because most of the workers there were from Mexico. And the deal that they had was so good, it would be absolutely ridiculous not to have that job and to make cash, be a bartender. You'd be a bartender at this restaurant, make $200-300 in a night on a Friday, Saturday night. Easy. You send the 200, boom, back to your friends and family over in Mexico, and then you keep the $100 so that you have a little spending money here, and you have someone who's helping you, the boss, who's giving you a place to stay, probably for pennies on a dollar that it would cost for me to go rent an apartment. And yeah, that's how the system works. And this is happening millions and millions of people. And for the past 20, 30 years of my life, this has just been going on. And people are just right over their head. The Joe Rogans, love Joe Rogan, but, you know, dude, you haven't lived in the middle class for a very long time. You are a very wealthy man, and you've been wealthy, and you've had absolutely nothing to worry about for probably the past 20 years of your life. So anyone who's in their 20s right now, you have absolutely no idea how it is to be them. You're the middle class, you're completely removed from, and you're sitting here saying that, oh, well, that girl going to that college coming to apply at a restaurant to be a bartender or to wait tables gets denied. That American girl who born and raised here in America gets denied that job because you have someone else in that position that isn't an American. They're only here for X amount of time, and then they're going to leave and go back. And so you're denying that. So millions and millions of people Americans being denied jobs because the jobs are already filled by people who will do the job for way less money because that money goes way further back at home, and then they're just going to game the system and then go live as king and queens 20, 30 years from now, retired at their ranch with their horses and their cattle and, their barbecue and their fiestas and having a good time. And you just can't blame them for it because it's just been allowed to happen. But yeah, the video's going on a little longer than I expected. I'm new to this, so I'm still trying to understand how to open and close within maybe a 30-minute time period. But practice makes perfect. But I appreciate you guys for coming to the Brian Abear Show. And like I said last time, even if I did a horrible job, please like and subscribe. And please comment below and like and subscribe. Thanks.